They're in a full-on fight, full-on fisticuffs. I get hit so hard in the back of my head. I go down to one knee, and then I stand up, and then I calmly go back over, and I sit down, and I start talking to Janet Jackson. Then the interview's over. So that was our morning show.
Good to see you, man. You got a big gig coming up here. I was going to say a big date with Victory for Veterans, the dinner, live, silent auction, the whole thing. That's happening February 8th, and that's at Crystal Gardens in Howell, Michigan. So doing good for some of the veterans out there.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this show there. One, it's in Howell, and my dad's so excited. My dad, who's a veteran, so excited that I'm doing this show. I think we're going to Rural King. Either buy licorice, feed, or guns. That's all you can get at Rural King. And we drove by this place where I'm performing, and my dad looked at me and goes, do you have a nice jacket? Like he thought I was going to show up in flannel, which is usually how I perform. So it's going to feel like a homecoming when I go there. I'm going to be dressed nice and probably see a lot of South Lyon, Milford, Novi, Brighton, that area. Of people. So I'm excited about it. And it's for a great cause.
Yeah, that's great. So you're a Southline graduate. Both my kids went to Southline, although they went to the new one. So you went to the old one.
I was probably the older one. So where I went to high school was I think it's their junior high now.
Okay, gotcha. Right in the middle of town?
Yeah. Yeah, right on the corner. And when I was there, this is how it sounds old. There was literally no place to eat. You had like McDonald's. That was it. That was the only thing that was in South Lyon. And you got food at McDonald's. And if people wanted to fight and not get suspended from school, that's the parking lot everybody fought in. That McDonald's means a lot. Then suddenly, now I'm the old guy. Where when I drive by, I just tell my wife, that wasn't there. That wasn't there. That used to be a cornfield. That was not there. That was not there. So
yeah, I do the same thing when I go with my wife. But you had the Southline Hotel. That's been there. We got to give my friends a plug at the Southline Hotel. That's been there since 1800. So
that's been there from the 1800s, and even when I was like 18 or 19, it was really scary. Like you were scared to go in there. Then it turned into what it is today. But yeah. It was good. Yeah, Southline is a great place. It's a great place to grow up in. You don't realize how cool of a place South Lyon, or even like that whole, it's not the Kensington Valley Conference anymore, but just that whole area where, you would drive to. And I travel for 35 years now, and I see all these little cities, and I'm just so glad that, fate threw me into South Lyon for my upbringing.
Yeah, that's right. So, you got this gig coming up, but let's talk about your time right here in Detroit. I forgot about this, but you were on with Danny Bonaducci back in the day. And for those who don't know, that was quite a time to be in morning radio here in Detroit.
Yeah, it was my only, so this was probably mid-90s. And it was my first radio job, and I was a radio sidekick. That was my only job, is to show up and try to be funny. I was 25 years old. Every night I was doing a personal appearance at, Industry or Velvet Lounge or, all those type of Boogie Fever, all those places. And then, so I'd show up at work, sleep in my car, because I'd get done with those around 2. We had to be in there by 5:30. And the music that we played at the time, even to this day, when I hear it, I feel like I'm late for work or that I'm exhausted. Like, so if I hear Celine Dion, To All the Things, or Leanne, like, How Do I Leave? She sings How Do I Leave she doesn't say live. Trust me, I've heard the song. It was Bop, and then we hit all the boy band eras, so it was an interesting time. It was an interesting morning show because we did not match the songs we were playing. Right. So we were a soccer moms thing, and they're like, hey guys, talk about the local places that you went out to. And I would just look at everybody going, we can't say anything that Bonaducci did last night. What break? we can't bring it up. We're all going to be in trouble if we, So it was interesting. I got on that show, in one of the biggest fights on air. I always tell the story, and Danny still, knows that I tell the story. but we were interviewing Janet Jackson on the phone. And, sometimes when they have pressers while you're talking, the press person will hit a button. You'll hear a zap in your ear to say the interview's over.
Yeah,
so Danny goes, yeah, Janet Jackson's performing over at whatever. And he says the wrong place. He says the wrong venue, right? And she goes, I don't know if I'm there. I think I'm at Joe Louis. So he starts shaking the paper is what he did when he wanted the producer to come in. Producer comes in. They're on a console, so he's behind the board, so I can't see him because they're higher. They both disappear. Danny grabs him, throws him to the ground. Janet Jackson is still talking, right? So there is a melee, and I keep asking her, so, what do you do in Detroit? And then I roll my chair over to try to see what's happening. They're in a full-on fight, full-on fisticuffs. The cart machine, I'm aging myself. There used to be these 8-track tapes where you'd play commercials and you put in the 8-track tapes in between each commercial. So Matt gets thrown against that. Janet Jackson is still talking. So I go back to the mic. I go, do you like Pop-Tarts? I have this interview saved. I go, do you like Pop-Tarts? And then I rush away from the mic. I grab Danny, and now 3 of us are fighting. I'm not punching anybody. I'm trying to stop punches. I get hit so hard in the back of my head. I go down to one knee, and then I stand up, and then I calmly go back over and I sit down and I start talking to Janet Jackson. Then the interview's over. So Danny's mad. Danny leaves. I leave a little bit later. I get to my apartment, and the person I was living with comes home and goes, hey, why'd you buy a VCR? And I go, I didn't buy a VCR. Well, they go, well, who's this is for? There's a receipt with your name on it. And I go, I don't remember. How do I not remember buying that? And then I said what happened. And then we went to the hospital, and I had a concussion. I got hit so hard right in the back of the head. But this was funny because this was mid-90s. So people bought DVD players back then. So Bonaducci hit me so hard, he knocked me back a full movie watching generation. He hit me back to VCRs. So that was our morning show.
That's great. Yeah.
And then the next day is so funny. I thought I was such a good sidekick. I had a letter in my little box, and I got so many shares of the company that we worked for. I suddenly got shares of their company, and I'm like, I'm so good at being a sidekick. And now being 50 something, I'm like, those bastards bought me off. I could have sued for so much money, but anyway. So yes, I used to do morning radio.
Yeah, that was a time. I don't know if you remember this. People may not know listening or watching, but I was on the WRIF still. I think I was doing overnights, or maybe even 7 to midnight. I can't recall. But Drew and Mike were on the mornings. Howard Stern was on another station. Ted Nugent was on another station. Danny Bonaducci. It's it was crazy town.
You know what? I forgot about all those. Yeah. And then you had, who else was on back then? Johnny in the Morning was on some whatever. And then you had the Canadian ones that were always a hip and cooler. That might have been J Top. I didn't realize that. That was a really cool time. And everybody crapped on each other. Everybody was always it was during that era where that's what you did as a morning show is you just talked about, yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun. Great. It was a fun time.
Yeah, that was awesome. I just gotten here from New York, so it was really exciting for me to be here and to hear all that stuff.
Yeah, although I don't miss radio because I remember being so tired, and then I would try to sneak out of just like Office Space. I would try to sneak out of the studio before promotions would show up because if the promotion department showed up, they'd go, "Hi, John. Yeah, we're gonna need you to go to Art Van on Saturday morning from 10 to 2. It's not paid, but we'd really appreciate it if you went to Hagopian Carpets." And then it would be me, some pissy intern in station koozies. That's not even our logo, just some old logos, you know what I mean, from the prize closet. Yeah, so I'd always try to disappear so I wouldn't get stuck doing that.
So when did you start to kind of venture off on your own and just start doing stand-up for a living?
I did stand-up I started stand-up at OCC, Oakland Community College is where I started, and then Eastern. So I probably did stand-up maybe 10 years before I got the radio job. I was
Oh,
doing 200. I was doing 200 colleges a year. I just moved to Los Angeles, and 2 months later, I got offered the radio job. So I'm like, I just moved out of Detroit. Do I want? And then I was auditioning for a bunch of stuff, and that went well. But my stand up was kind of sucking because I was pretty insecure. So I wasn't doing very well, like doing showcases. And then the money I got offered to do radio was more. I was like, yeah, I'll just stay at home and make that. So I went back to Detroit for 5 years. My confidence, I was selling out, Ridley's and doing all that stuff. So then when I went back to Los Angeles after I got fired, I had more of a pep in my step. I had a little money saved, and I thought I was a celebrity. And then I got on Last Comic Standing maybe like 3 months after that. And then, now I'm back in Michigan. Yeah, with not a lot of comedy work. It's a full circle. It's a full circle.
what else are you doing besides? I mean, you got to be doing something else, no?
I still do just, man, stand up as, least as I do it a lot, but I don't do it as much as I used to. Like I used to be on the road 37 weeks a year, but the one thing COVID did is it put me on a couch for 2 years, and it's hard to get back and sprint again, like it is. So now I have this perfect thing where I do a lot of corporate events. I do shows. I've been doing so many shows up the coast of Michigan, just going West Coast like all last summer. It's all I did. And I just want to keep doing that. Now my new move is just to be Michigan famous again, where when I could go perform for 3 months and then come back to my little farm here and, call it a year. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I just asked another comedian actually a little while ago what they thought about Nikki Glazer opening up the Golden Globes. What'd you think of her 10 minutes?
That was super. I always thought that she was funny, and then you see funny people hosting that stuff, but her writing, those jokes were just so that's the exact opposite of what I am. I'm very long-winded, but the word choices and just saying the right amount of words and was so perfect. It really, you know what I mean? Really, it was amazing writing.
Have you ever performed in front of a room like that?
Yeah, I've done, I do a lot of corporate events, and they're a lot sometimes like that where, man, I did one where I got paid so much money for this corporation, and I bet you there was 1,000 people in the crowd. At one point I go, clap twice if you can hear me. Not a clap, not a clap. And I just kept talking. Yeah. And I just kept talking. And they're paying me a lot. I look back at like the bartender in the back of the room. I just stared at that guy and just did my whole act, just staring at him, and just left. And the people handed me a check going, great job. They loved you. Okay. And just jumped in my car before they looked at any, film, looked at any game tape going, I don't know. Was there another stage going on? Yeah. So you do a lot of, and I've done a lot of like industry ones like that. They're horrible, so yeah.
But with the Golden Globes, it's like she's up there in front of people that the world knows. Like everybody knows Glenn Close or whoever, even some of the newer celebrities and stuff. So that's got to add a little bit more nerves to the whole process, right?
Yeah, especially because that Hollywood group, and like I said, I've done shows for them. They just think a lot of themselves. So if you make fun of them, and then things are funny. Let's say people listening can't see it, but my lip is completely swollen because I had toothpicks that had flavor in them, like I'm in 6th grade, and it's swollen. So if you were to make fun of that, I wouldn't get mad at you because it's a real thing, right? And everybody notices. But the weird thing about the Hollywood thing, when she was making fun of like Diddy parties and stuff, people didn't laugh because probably 70% of everybody in there is guilty of being at one or seeing some debauchery. So, right, if it hits too close to home, it's suddenly not funny. Yeah. So it's yeah. But so I'm glad that she did say some things about that. But yeah, is what it is.
I'm a fan of comedy. I like comedians and stuff. Who are some of the guys that got you first interested in comedy, and who are some of the guys that you think are really good now?
I was always a fan of Richard Jeni. He was a comic from the 70s, 80s. He unfortunately, he killed himself. And so he was one of the guys that who I probably modeled myself after because he was very storyteller-y, clean. And then when I got to Los Angeles from Detroit, there's these guys like Zach and Janine Patton Oswalt, all these like cool kids. They were all like, and the Tim Allen's manager had me go watch them. And maybe this is just the Detroit guy in me. I just watched them all and went, they suck. This is like the drama club. They all just really over talk about, like, I just wasn't part of that group. So I kind of like went off on my own. And then over the years, I've had like Nate Bargatze was my opening act for probably 5 years, up until about a year ago, whenever he blew up. Ryan Hamilton, super funny guy, opened up for me a lot. I'm a career maker, is what I am. I figure my career, I'm like Bull Durham at this point, where I'm playing it in the minors, but I was in the show. I was on, and the younger people ask me about it, but it's just like, yeah, I got bad knees at this point and stuff like that. Yeah. But I love those guys. Bargatze, Marino Collier, yeah, Adam Ferrara, Tammy Pescatelli, all Alonzo Bolden, all the people from Last Comic Standing, Kathleen Madigan. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe like a Kenny Powers of today.
I know. That's literally, yeah. That's how I felt when I lived in Los Angeles, and I didn't have a place. I had 2 old German Shepherds that were 16 years old, and I got a divorce, and I was like, I don't want to have a roommate. I'm 50 with these, old dogs. So I decided to bring the dogs back to Michigan because there's more room, and then that would free up, because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And then I found this old farmhouse, and I go, well, I'll buy this. And that's cheaper than paying for a storage unit in Los Angeles. And then I'll just, do something with this house. And then that COVID happened. And then I go, well, I guess I live back in Michigan now. And it was the greatest thing ever. You know what I mean? We drive up north every weekend. I'm not working, or I'll do a show in Grand Haven or Sheboygan, or just go there. And those little towns are so fun to perform in because there's not a lot going on.
Right.
It's either high school rendition of Grease, or you come and see me. That's literally my competition, and I like being in that space. Yeah.
You have a captive audience in those places.
Yeah. There. You need to fill a room in Frankenmuth. You need about 150 people. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't got to do an arena. What about Bargatze? Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched his special the other day. Well, you're going to be there. Victory for Veterans, dinner live silent auction. And, of course, that's happening February 8th, like we mentioned, Crystal Gardens in Howell, Michigan, with the doors open up at 6 and dinner at 7. So listen, good to talk to you. I'll probably see you out there that night. And if not, I'll beep.
Oh, perfect.
I'll beep when I ride my Harley Davidson, I'm sure, by your house somewhere sometime during the summertime, which I have to do.
Yeah, by the way, I'm a big fan of been a fan of your Twitter game. And I haven't gone on Twitter in a while. But I like to go there but it's pretty good. You're always throwing out who's this band better than this band, and I find myself like arguing against. Well, no, that's the blah 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 blah. Yeah, so you do it. You got good X game there.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It seems like it's hard to get traction on that thing. I think my brother now has more followers than I do, and he's like a guitarist that works at like a metal shop or something in New York. It's just a weird thing. I don't know.
I was with a buddy, and I go, do you want to see just how this is? And I go, what's the most vanilla thing I could say right now? And whatever it was, I just typed it and I sent it out there, and I probably got 30 "you sucks." You're not, if you got to put comedian in your name because somebody already had John Heffron or something. So I had comedian John Heffron. They're like, then that "you sucks." I'm like, it's just such a horrible hole to ever I like reading everything there. There's a lot of cool fights somehow that I watch on there, guys fighting and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I just hide in the corner and watch.
Yeah, what's funny about that is I saw an athlete years ago. I think it was a hockey player, and he posted, "Okay, going to the shower now." And I'm sure he probably had a bet with the guys on his team. Let's see how many retweets I can get on this. Like, it was just so stupid. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we'll see.
Anyway, but yeah, man.
February 8th, man. It's gonna be a great night.
It really is. It's a great cause. I'm excited. I'm excited that I'll probably see a lot of South Lyon people. Tickets are, I believe, 75 or whatever the ticket. structure is, but the money's going to a great cause. And I was telling a buddy, I go, that's like you do 2 less shots when you go to the bar and you have the money for that night. That could help somebody. You know, so it's 1 less gallon in your pontoon boat that you use twice a year. It's you have the money, and the people that they're supporting don't. It's kind of that simple. So it's gonna be a great night. And I'm gonna have my dad's gonna take me to a tuxedo shop, and I'm gonna get a fancy jacket to wear. It's gonna look good, and my lips gonna be less puffy. Lot to look forward to.
Well, that'll be one of us with a tuxedo jacket on, because I might be
right. Just wear that. Yeah. Exactly.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man. Take care for your time.